blacklight virus didn't believe in gods. Alex Mercer had consumed scientists, soldiers, commanders, absorbed their memories, their knowledge, their certainty that divinity was myth and power was biology. He'd torn through Manhattan like a living plague, reshaping flesh and bone into weapons, into answers, into survival. Gods were stories. Power was real. And Alex Mercer was the apex of power, a creature that consumed everything and evolved beyond limitation. Then Athena tore reality open, and the virus learned humility. The rift screamed into existence above him while he fed, tendrils of biomass wrapped around an infected Blackwatch soldier, pulling memories and genetic material into his core. Manhattan's ruined streets shuddered. The sky split like torn flesh, revealing not void but light, golden, burning, impossible. Divine essence poured through dimensional walls like ichor from a wound, and something pulled. Alex's biomass cohesion shattered. The soldier's body fell forgotten as the virus felt itself dragged across realities, every cell screaming contradiction, every memory fragmenting. For the first time since his awakening, Alex Mercer felt something close to fear. He crashed into stone, not asphalt, not concrete. Marble, ancient, carved, still warm with blood. Alex pushed himself upright, claws instinctively forming from his fists, and froze. This wasn't Manhattan. The architecture was wrong. Massive columns topped with sculptures of warriors and beasts, temples carved from mountains, stone roads wide enough for armies. The sky burned orange and red, choked with ash. In the distance, something enormous moved between peaks, a titan, stone, and rage, swinging chains at flying figures wreathed in lightning. Divine lightning. A woman's voice spoke behind him, cold and measured. The virus adapts, the virus consumes, the virus survives. But can the virus kill a god? Alex spun, biomass already shifting to armor plating across his torso. She stood 5 paces away, translucent, ethereal, wearing ancient Greek armor that seemed carved from pure light. Her eyes held knowledge that made his absorbed memories feel like whispers. "What the hell are you?" Alex's voice came rough, dangerous. "I am Athena," she said, and the name hit him like physical force. Memories from consumed scholars surfacing unbidden, mythology lessons absorbed from dead professors. Goddess of wisdom, daughter of Zeus. Dead, according to the myths. And you are far from your diseased world, creature. Alex's claws extended further, bone-white and razor-sharp. "Send me back." "I cannot." Athena circled him slowly, studying him like a specimen. "The ritual required precise conditions. You are here because I need you here. Greece burns, Olympus falls. A mortal calling himself the ghost of Sparta wages war against divinity itself, and he is winning. Not my problem." Alex's thermal vision activated automatically. The woman registered as cold, impossibly cold, like she wasn't entirely real. "It is now." Athena gestured toward the chaos in the distance. "That mortal has killed Poseidon, Hades, Helios. He marches on Zeus himself, and when the king of gods falls, this world ends. Reality collapses, including whatever anchor keeps you here instead of scattered across dimensional void." Alex went still. Survival logic. The core of the blacklight virus processed instantly. Trapped. Unknown variables, hostile environment, need information, need advantage. "Why me?" "Because you are like him," Athena said, and something like satisfaction crossed her translucent features. "Kratos was mortal once. He consumed power, my brother Ares' power, and became the god of war. Then he rejected it, killed Ares, killed US. You consume to evolve. He consumed to ascend. 2 predators, 2 monsters. but only one can remain when Olympus's throne sits empty. Alex absorbed that. God of War, a position, not just a title, an embodiment of warfare itself, power given form. And it was vacant. The virus in his cells stirred, hungry. "You want me to kill this Kratos," Alex said flatly. "I want you to stop him from killing Zeus. How you do so?" Athena smiled, and it held no warmth. "The virus adapts. Perhaps you consume him. Perhaps you consume the godhood he rejected. Perhaps you become what he could not. War incarnate, unchained from mortal limitation." Before Alex could respond, the ground shook. A roar split the burning sky, something between avalanche and agony. The Titan in the distance collapsed, chains wrapping tighter, and a figure rode its falling form down toward the mountains. Even from this distance, Alex's enhanced vision caught details. Ashen skin, red tattoo, twin chains burning with hellfire wrapped around scarred forearms. The ghost of Sparta. Kratos, and he was coming this way. "Choose quickly, virus," Athena whispered, already fading. "Consume or be consumed, evolve or die. Welcome to Olympus." She vanished like mist, leaving Alex Mercer alone on blood-stained marble in a world of gods and monsters. With the greatest god-killer in existence descending from a Titan's corpse, and the impossible hunger of the blacklight virus screaming one word through every cell: evolve. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. The cycle continues. Alex's biomass rippled beneath his jacket. In the distance, Kratos hit the ground hard enough to crack stone, already moving toward the next god, the next kill. The ghost didn't know it yet, but the food chain had gained a new apex predator. And Alex Mercer was very hungry. Alex ran. Not from fear. The blacklight virus didn't run from threats. It consumed them. But Kratos moved through the burning ruins of Greece like a force of nature, and Alex's absorbed tactical knowledge screamed one truth: gather intelligence before engagement. Every consumed military commander's memory agreed. Unknown opponent, unknown capabilities, unknown environment. Learn before you strike. He scaled a crumbling temple wall, biomass forming claws that bit into ancient stone. From the rooftop, Alex watched the ghost of Sparta work. Kratos moved through a group of armored warriors, Spartans, based on their shields and crimson cloaks, like a butcher through cattle. The chains on his forearms blurred, burning blades at their ends, carving through shields and flesh with equal contempt. One warrior tried to plead, recognition in his voice. Kratos drove a blade through his throat without slowing. Alex's enhanced hearing caught the dying man's words. "My captain, remember me." The ghost of Sparta said nothing, just moved to the next kill. Efficient, Alex thought, watching the massacre. No hesitation, no mercy, pure execution. He'd seen soldiers work like this, special forces operatives he'd consumed, men who'd turned killing into mechanical precision. But this was different. Kratos didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like something that had transcended warfare entirely, become its living embodiment. The last Spartan fell. Kratos stood among the bodies, chest heaving, ashen skin slick with blood that steamed in the burning air. For a moment, the ghost looked almost human, exhausted, heavy with the weight of what he'd done. Then he raised his head. And even from 50 yards away, Alex felt the weight of those eyes. Not human, not anymore. Kratos' gaze swept the ruins, and Alex went absolutely still, every predatory instinct screaming contradiction. Hide, attack, run, consume. The virus couldn't decide if this was prey or something else entirely. The ghost's attention moved past Alex's position. Kratos turned, chains retracting with a sound like grinding metal, and continued his march toward Olympus's heights. Alex exhaled slowly. The tactical assessment was clear. Kratos was degraded, exhausted, wounded. Alex's thermal vision had caught the heat signatures of fresh injuries beneath the blood. But still moving, still killing, still winning against literal gods. What would I gain if I consumed him? The thought came unbidden, and with it, hunger so intense, Alex's biomass rippled visibly. Not just Kratos' physical capabilities, his memories, his techniques, his god-killing knowledge. Everything that made the ghost of Sparta the most dangerous being in Greece absorbed into Alex's constantly evolving form. But Athena's words echoed. 2 predators, only one can remain. Direct confrontation wasn't the answer. Not yet. First, Alex needed to understand this world's rules, needed to test his capabilities against divine flesh, needed to... The scream cut through his thoughts. Alex turned toward the sound. A woman's voice, raw with terror, coming from the temple interior below. Then laughter, multiple voices, male, cruel. And underneath, a smell Alex's enhanced senses caught immediately. Ozone and rot mixed together. Divine corruption. He dropped through a hole in the temple roof, biomass absorbing the impact. The interior was vast, lit by torches that burned with unnatural green flame. Statues of warriors lined the walls, and at the far end, 3 men. Armor that gleamed like oil slicks, skin too pale, movements too fluid. Soldiers, but wrong. Divine essence clung to them like disease, their eyes reflecting torchlight with predatory hunger. Between them, a Greek woman in torn robes, maybe 20, backed against an altar. Her hands clutched a broken spear, but fear made them shake. "Please," she whispered. "I only came for sanctuary." "Sanctuary?" The lead soldier laughed, and his voice echoed with harmonics that hurt to hear. "There is no sanctuary, girl. The gods are dying. Their laws die with them. We serve Olympus no more. We take what we want." The other 2 spread out, flanking. Predator tactics. "Pack hunters." The woman's eyes found Alex in the shadows. Hope flashed across her face, desperate and damning. "Help me, please." The 3 soldiers turned. The leader's smile widened. Another sacrifice. Lord Ares would have loved this before the ghost killed him. His gaze raked over Alex, and something like recognition flickered. "You're not from Greece. What realm spawned you, stranger?" Alex said nothing. His tactical mind analyzed. 3 opponents, enhanced beyond human baseline by divine corruption, coordinated. Threat level, minimal. He'd consumed entire military squads in Manhattan. 3 divinely touched soldiers were nothing, but they were divine, or touched by divinity. Which meant, first test. "Walk away," Alex said quietly. The leader laughed. "Or what? You'll bleed for her?" "Noble, stupid, but noble." He drew his sword, bronze blade, etched with runes that glowed sickly green. "Come then, stranger. Let's see what your foreign blood looks like on Olympian steel." Alex's right arm exploded into biomass, restructuring in an instant. The clawed tendril that emerged was pure blacklight, red and black, dripping with viral matter designed to pierce tank armor. The soldiers stopped laughing. "What in Hades?" the leader managed. Alex moved. Decades of consumed combat experience translated into pure violence. His clawed tendril punched through the leader's chest before the man could raise his sword, lifting him off the ground. The other 2 reacted with divine speed, but Alex was faster. His left arm shifted into a massive hammer fist, bone and muscle compressed into devastating weight. The hammer fist caught the second soldier in the skull, and his head simply ceased existing, divine essence spraying in golden mist. The third soldier screamed and ran. Alex's tendril whipped out, wrapped around the man's ankle, and pulled. The soldier hit stone face first, then Alex was on him, biomass tendrils erupting from his back like spider legs, pinning the divine warrior to the ground. Time for the real test. Alex's hand pressed against the soldier's face, and he consumed. The absorption started normally, flesh dissolving, memories flooding in. The soldier's life, his service to Ares, his transformation when divine blood mixed with mortal flesh. Then it hit him. Divine essence poured into Alex's cells, and the blacklight virus screamed. Not pain, rejection. The godly ichor was incompatible, fighting his biomass, trying to purge itself from his system, like trying to consume poison, except the poison fought back with intelligence and malice. Alex gritted his teeth, forcing the consumption to continue. His body convulsed, biomass rippling chaotically. The divine essence resisted, but the virus adapted, learning, evolving in real time. Slowly, agonizingly, the godly corruption integrated. Partial success. Alex staggered back, the soldier's desiccated corpse crumbling to ash. The memories were fragmented, pieces missing, divine knowledge lost in translation. But he'd gotten some of it. Enough to know gods could bleed, gods could die, and with adaptation, gods could be consumed. The woman still cowered by the altar, staring at Alex with absolute horror. What are you? Alex looked at his hands, golden ichor mixed with red biomass, already fading as his cells finished processing. Something that eats gods, he said quietly. Then he turned and walked out, leaving the woman alive and terrified, while the blacklight virus sang with new possibility. Divine flesh could be consumed. The adaptation was beginning. And somewhere far above, on Olympus's heights, Zeus sat on his throne, unaware that a new predator had learned to hunt divinity itself. The divine essence burned through Alex's veins like liquid fire. He collapsed in the ruins of what had once been a marketplace, body convulsing as the blacklight virus waged war with godly ichor. His biomass rippled uncontrollably, claws forming and dissolving, armor plates erupting and retracting, tendrils writhing from his back like dying serpents. Every cell screamed contradiction as mortal virus met immortal divinity. Adapt, adapt, adapt. The virus's prime directive overrode pain. Alex's consciousness fragmented across millions of cells, each one learning, evolving, restructuring proteins to accommodate divine matter. What his body couldn't use, it expelled, golden ichor oozing from his pores, steaming in the ash-thick air. Minutes passed. Hours. Alex couldn't tell. Time lost meaning in the agony of forced evolution. Then finally, equilibrium. Alex pushed himself upright, gasping. His body felt different, denser. The divine essence hadn't been fully integrated. His cells had compartmentalized it, stored it like a poison that might someday become sustenance. But he'd held it, processed enough to gain fragments of knowledge. The consumed soldier's memories surfaced, corrupted but usable. Ares, the god of war, towering and terrible, granting divine blessings to his chosen warriors. The taste of godly blood, addictive and maddening. The day Kratos killed Ares, and the divine blessings shattered, leaving them hollow and desperate. And something else, a sense of place, divine geography. The soldier had known Olympus's layout, the temples, the throne room, how to navigate the realm of gods. Useful. There, Alex's head snapped up. Soldiers, a dozen of them, mortal this time, wearing Olympian guard armor. They charged through the ruins, weapons drawn, moving with the coordination of trained killers. "The abomination that killed Ares is chosen," their captain shouted. "Lord Zeus demands its head." Alex's lips curled. So Olympus had noticed. Fast, he stood slowly, deliberately, letting them see him, letting them understand what they faced. His right arm shifted, bone and muscle restructuring into the massive blade he favored, 6 feet of razor-sharp biomass, edge serrated with viral matter. "Zeus should come himself," Alex said quietly. The captain laughed, but it sounded forced. "The king of gods does not soil his hands with monsters. That's what we're for." They attacked as a unit, spears thrusting, swords slashing, practiced formations designed to bring down single powerful opponents. Military tactics Alex recognized from every soldier he'd ever consumed, which meant he knew exactly how to counter them. Alex moved through the formation like water through cracks. His blade caught the first spear, sheared through the wooden shaft, and continued into the soldier's chest. The man's scream died as Alex absorbed him mid-combat, flesh dissolving, memories and biomass integrating in seconds. More knowledge. Olympus's current state. Zeus's paranoia. Orders to capture any unknown entity. The other soldiers hesitated, watching their comrade dissolve. That hesitation cost them. Alex's blade became a whip fist, a tendril of compressed muscle that shot out 15 feet, wrapped around 3 soldiers' throats, and pulled. They crashed together, bones breaking, and Alex was already moving to the next target. His free hand caught a sword thrust, biomass hardening to steel-like density, and he ripped the weapon away before driving his fist through the soldier's sternum. The captain backed away, eyes wide with dawning understanding. "You're not from Olympus, not from any realm. What?" Alex's whip fist caught him around the waist and dragged him close. "I'm something new," Alex said, and consumed him. More memories, more tactical data, and confirmation. Zeus had ordered Alex captured for interrogation. The king of gods wanted to know what he was, where he came from, and most importantly, if he could be weaponized against Kratos. They're desperate, Alex realized, processing the captain's fear-soaked memories. The ghost has them terrified. They're looking for any advantage, any tool. They think I'm that tool. He could work with that. Alex's biomass finished processing the soldiers' remains. 12 dead Olympian guards, their genetic material and knowledge absorbed. He felt stronger. The divine essence from earlier had taught his cells how to extract more from mortal flesh touched by godly power. Each consumption taught the virus, and the virus learned. A sound like thunder rolled across the burning sky. Alex looked up. The clouds tore apart, and light descended, pure, golden, overwhelming. It solidified into a figure, a woman, 20 feet tall, skin gleaming like polished bronze, eyes burning with divine fire. She wore armor carved from sunlight itself, and in her hands, a spear that crackled with lightning. A goddess, not a minor deity, not a touched mortal, a true Olympian. Abomination. Her voice shook the ruins. "I am Athena's sister, Nike, victory incarnate. You have slain Zeus's warriors and defiled divine flesh with your touch. You will come before the king of gods to face judgment, or you will be destroyed." Alex's thermal vision caught the heat radiating from her, hotter than any furnace, divine power barely contained. His tactical assessment was immediate. She could kill him. His adaptations weren't complete. Direct confrontation would be suicide. But he'd learned something in Manhattan. Predators didn't always need to fight. Sometimes they needed to manipulate. "I'll come," Alex said, lowering his blade. "But not as prisoner, as contractor. Nike's burning eyes narrowed. Explain. Your Ghost of Sparta problem. Alex gestured toward Olympus's heights, where distant screams and crashes echoed Kratos' continued rampage. Athena pulled me here to stop him, said I'm similar. Another monster, maybe the only thing that can stop him. Athena is dead, Nike snarled. Her ghost has no authority. But she had a point. Alex met the goddess's gaze without flinching. Consumed General's tactical instincts guided his words. You're losing. Kratos is killing you one by one. You need an advantage. Something he won't expect. Something that adapts, that evolves, that can match his god-killing power. Nike was silent for a long moment, spear tip lowering fractionally. You believe yourself his equal? No, Alex said honestly. Not yet, but I consume and evolve. Give me access to divine power, real power, not just scraps from blessed soldiers, and I'll become what you need, a god-killer to kill the god-killer. It was a lie, partially. Alex had no intention of becoming Olympus's loyal weapon, but he needed time to adapt, to grow stronger, to learn this world's rules. And the best way to do that was from inside the Pantheon itself. Nike studied him with eyes that had witnessed countless battles, weighing his words against divine wisdom. Finally, she raised her spear, and golden light engulfed them both. Zeus will decide your fate, abomination. Pray he sees value in you. Those he does not value, he destroys. The light intensified, and Alex felt reality shift. Teleportation, divine transportation. When the light faded, he stood on marble floors so white they burned the eyes, surrounded by columns that stretched into infinite sky. Olympus, the throne room of the gods. And ahead, seated on a throne carved from a single massive diamond, radiating power that made Alex's viral cells scream in recognition of something vastly superior. Zeus, king of the gods. Lightning incarnate, the most powerful being in Greece. And he was looking at Alex Mercer with eyes that crackled with barely contained rage and desperate, dangerous hope. So, Zeus's voice was thunder-given words. Athena's final gambit arrives before me, a creature of disease and consumption, torn from another world to serve as weapon against the Ghost of Sparta. His massive hand gripped the throne's armrest, and lightning arced between his fingers. Tell me, Virus, why should I not obliterate you where you stand and scatter your ashes across the void? Alex's biomass tensed, every cell screaming danger. But the consumed tactician's memories provided the answer. God's respected strength, respected confidence. Because, Alex said, meeting the king of God's gaze, I'm the only thing that might actually want to fight him. Zeus's lips curled into something that might have been a smile. Then let us discuss terms, abomination, and pray you prove more useful than the last god of war. In the distance, beyond Olympus's walls, another scream echoed as Kratos claimed another divine victim. The game had begun. The throne room of Olympus held the last remnants of a dying pantheon. Alex counted them as Zeus gestured to the assembled gods, 7 Olympians remaining from what had once been 12. Hera, queen of Olympus, stood rigid beside the throne, her beauty marred by barely contained fury. Hermes, lean and quick, perched on a column's edge like a nervous bird. Hephaestus, the smith god, massive and scarred, leaned on a hammer that hummed with forge heat. Helios, the sun god, burned with diminished radiance, wounded based on the way he clutched his side. And 3 more Alex didn't recognize, minor deities perhaps, hovering at the periphery with the desperate energy of survivors clinging to power. 8 gods, Alex thought, against 1 mortal. And they're losing. The Ghost of Sparta has killed Poseidon, Hades, and Hercules, Zeus spoke, his voice carrying divine weight that made the marble floor vibrate. He has blinded Helios, crippled Hephaestus, and sent Hermes fleeing in terror 3 times. He marches toward this throne with singular purpose, my death. Then face him, Hera snapped, her voice acid. You are the king of gods. Stop cowering and... Lightning exploded from Zeus's hand, striking the floor inches from Hera's feet. She flinched but didn't retreat. The queen of gods had spine, Alex noted. Even terrified, she stood her ground. I do not cower, Zeus's words rumbled like approaching storm. I am strategic. Kratos is no longer the man who served Ares. He has consumed the power of fallen gods, wields weapons forged specifically to kill us, and carries rage that has burned for decades. Meeting him in single combat is suicide. So you summon this? Hephaestus gestured at Alex with his hammer, disgust clear in his scarred features. A creature that reeks of wrongness. I can smell it on him. Biomass that shouldn't exist. Viral matter that corrupts everything it touches. You would unleash this abomination against Kratos. Alex's biomass rippled beneath his jacket. Every god in this room could kill him. He felt it in the divine pressure radiating from their forms. But they needed him. Desperation stank worse than fear. What I am doesn't matter, Alex said, voice level. What I can do is what counts. You need something Kratos won't expect. Something that adapts to his tactics. Something that gets stronger the longer the fight continues. By consuming, Hermes spoke for the first time, his voice quick and sharp. I saw what you did to the guards. You absorbed them. Took their memories, their essence. That's how you grow stronger, isn't it? By eating your enemies. Alex didn't deny it. Yes. Then you're no different than him, Hera said coldly. Another monster, another predator. Why would we trust you not to turn on us once Kratos is dead? Because I'm trapped here, Alex said bluntly. Honesty, or the appearance of it, would serve better than false loyalty. Athena's ritual stranded me in this reality. I can't go home until your dimensional stability returns, which means I need Olympus intact, need Zeus alive. Your survival is my survival. It was partially true. Athena had implied the dimensional anchor required divine stability. Whether that was accurate, Alex didn't know, but it was plausible enough to sell. Zeus leaned forward, eyes crackling with barely restrained power. And if I grant you access to divine essence, allow you to consume minor gods, blessed warriors, divine artifacts, you believe you can evolve into something capable of matching the ghost. Alex felt his viral cells surge with hunger at the suggestion. Access to true godhood, not scraps from touched mortals, but pure divine power. The blacklight virus could do anything with that. Evolve beyond mortal limitation, maybe even become a god. The thought hit him like revelation. Not just survive this world, not just return home, but transcend, consume divinity itself, and evolve into something unprecedented, a viral god, disease-given divine form. Yes, Alex said and meant it. Zeus studied him for a long moment. Then the king of gods stood, and the throne room shook with released power. Lightning danced across his body, illuminating scars that spoke of ancient wars. Very well, but you will be tested first. Prove your worth, abomination, and Olympus will provide what you need. He gestured, and the floor before Alex's feet split open. A pit emerged, darkness swirling within, and from that darkness, roaring. The pit of Tartarus holds monsters we imprisoned millennia ago, Zeus explained. Creatures too dangerous to kill, too powerful to release. You will descend and clear it. Consume the monsters, prove your evolution, and return with their essence integrated. Do this, and I will grant you access to divine power. Alex looked into the pit. His enhanced hearing caught movement below, something massive shifting in chains. Multiple somethings. And beneath that, whispers in languages that predated human speech. A test, Alex realized, and an execution if I fail. How many monsters? Alex asked. Enough. Zeus's smile held no warmth. The Cyclops who forged my lightning, the Hecatonchires who won the Titan War, the Chimera that burned Athens, all prisoners, all hungry. Clear the pit or die trying. These are your options. Hephaestus stepped forward, hammer raised. Wait! The smith god's voice was grudging. If you're going into Tartarus, you'll need something to kill with. Your flesh weapons won't pierce divine hide easily. The god's hammer struck the marble floor, and molten metal erupted, gold and bronze mixing with something darker, something that screamed as it took form. Within seconds, a weapon emerged, a short sword, blade etched with runes that hurt to look at, crossguard shaped like viral tendrils. Forged from fallen god's ichor and tempered in divine fire, Hephaestus said, disgust still clear in his tone. It will cut what you cannot, and if you die down there, at least this blade won't fall into Kratos' hands. Alex took the sword. The moment his fingers touched the grip, pain seared through his hand. The weapon burned, rejecting his viral biomass. But his cells adapted instantly, learning the divine frequency, restructuring to accommodate godly essence. The pain faded. The sword hummed, resonating with his viral matter, and Alex felt his biomass surge. The weapon was compatible. More than that, it was feeding on his essence, evolving alongside him. Perfect. Anything else I should know? Alex asked, testing the blade's weight. Yes, Zeus said, and genuine warning entered his voice. The prisoners have been sealed for centuries. They are starving, maddened, and they know only one truth. Anything that enters Tartarus is food. They will tear you apart and feast on your remains. That is their nature. Alex looked at the assembled gods, Zeus radiating desperate hope, Hera's cold calculation, Hermes' nervous energy, Hephaestus' grudging respect. They expected him to fail, expected Tartarus to consume him. They didn't understand what the black light virus was. It wasn't just a disease. It was evolution weaponized. Every challenge made it stronger. Every threat taught it new ways to kill. And Alex Mercer had survived Manhattan, where military forces and biological nightmares tried to end him daily. Olympus's monsters would be no different. How do I get out once they're dead? Alex asked. You don't, Hera said with cold satisfaction. Not until Zeus allows it. Complete your task, and the pit will release you. Fail, and your bones will join the others littering Tartarus's floor. Alex nodded once. Then, without hesitation, he stepped into the pit. Darkness swallowed him. The sounds of Olympus faded. And below, in the ancient prison where gods stored their worst mistakes, something roared in anticipation. The black light virus answered with its own hunger, viral cells restructuring for war, divine sword burning in Alex's grip. Let the monsters come. It was time to teach Olympus what real evolution looked like. Alex hit stone after falling for what felt like miles. His biomass absorbed the impact, legs restructuring to distribute force, but the landing still cracked the ground beneath him. He rose in absolute darkness, not the darkness of night, but the absence of light. Tartarus existed beyond normal reality, a prison carved from void and divine punishment. Then torches ignited, not normal fire. Green flame erupted along the walls, revealing a massive chamber carved from black stone. Chains hung everywhere, massive links forged from metal that gleamed with divine essence, each one thick as Alex's torso. Some chains hung empty, others still held prisoners, wrapped so tightly the creatures within were barely visible. and in the center of the chamber, something moved. Food. The voice was thunder and grinding stone mixed together. A chain snapped, divine metal, screaming as it broke, and a figure emerged from the shadows. The Cyclops stood 20 feet tall, body corded with muscle that looked carved from living granite. A single eye dominated its face, bloodshot and mad, tracking Alex with predatory focus. Scars covered its gray skin, evidence of divine punishment, torture that had lasted centuries. Smell! New flesh, the Cyclops rumbled, advancing with surprising speed for something so massive. Been so long since gods fed me anything. Alex raised Hephaestus's sword, divine blade humming. His tactical assessment was immediate. Size, advantage overwhelming, reach advantage significant, durability unknown but likely extreme. Standard approach, mobility, precision strikes, consume when vulnerable. The Cyclops charged. Stone cracked under its footfalls. A fist the size of a car swung at Alex with speed that defied physics. Alex dove, biomass-forming armor plating across his back as he rolled. The Cyclops' fist cratered the ground where he'd stood, and the shock wave alone sent Alex tumbling. Fast, too fast for its size. He came up slashing, divine sword biting into the Cyclops' ankle. The blade cut, barely. Divine hide parted with a spray of golden ichor, but the wound was shallow. The Cyclops barely noticed, already swinging its other fist in a backhand that would pulverize Alex if it connected. Alex's whip fist shot out, wrapped around a hanging chain, and pulled. He swung up and over the attack, biomass forming claws on his feet that dug into the Cyclops' back as he landed. The creature roared, reaching back to swat him away, but Alex was already moving, running up its spine, divine sword stabbing repeatedly. Each strike drew ichor, each wound made the Cyclops angrier, and none of it was enough. Different approach. Alex leaped from the creature's shoulder, landed hard, and his body exploded into biomass. The Devastator, one of his most powerful attacks, detonated in a sphere of viral matter, tendrils erupting in all directions, seeking flesh to consume. The black light wave hit the Cyclops and recoiled. Divine essence. The creature's skin was soaked in it, centuries of imprisonment in godly chains infusing its flesh with protective power. Alex's virus couldn't penetrate, couldn't consume, couldn't... The Cyclops' fist caught him mid-thought. Pain. Real pain, not the abstract sensation Alex usually experienced. His ribs shattered, biomass rupturing, organs pulverized. He flew across the chamber, crashed into chains that wrapped around him instinctively, and felt divine metal burn against his viral flesh. The chains responded to biomass-like immune system to infection, rejecting him, trying to expel him from reality itself. Alex forced his body to regenerate, bones snapping back into place, organs reforming. But the damage was significant. The Cyclops was divine touched, its flesh resisted consumption. And if Alex couldn't consume it, then I adapt the consumption. The virus had learned from the divine essence it absorbed earlier, learned how godly matter operated, how it resisted foreign intrusion. What if Alex didn't try to force consumption? What if he made his biomass compatible first? Alex's cells restructured frantically, incorporating the fragments of divine knowledge absorbed from Zeus's soldiers. His viral matter began producing ichor analogs, mimicking divine essence enough to bypass the Cyclops' natural resistance. It hurt. Evolution at this speed always hurt. But pain was just data. The Cyclops lumbered toward him, eye bright with hunger. Break, you, eat you, finally. Alex waited until it reached for him. Then his hand shot out, pressed against the creature's palm, and he consumed. This time, his biomass didn't recoil. The adapted viral matter slid through the Cyclops' divine resistance like key into lock. The creature's flesh began to dissolve, ichor and biomass mixing, and Alex felt the surge. Memories. Centuries of imprisonment. Forging Zeus's lightning in ancient times, the taste of divine metals, the strength of primordial beings. Power. The Cyclops screamed. Not rage, terror. It tried to pull away, but Alex's tendrils had already anchored deep, viral matter spreading through divine flesh like infection through tissue. No, cannot. I am eternal. Nothing's eternal, Alex said, his voice distorted as biomass flooded his system. Everything evolves. The consumption took minutes. The Cyclops was massive, its divine essence fighting every step, but Alex's adapted virus was relentless. Cell by cell, the creature dissolved. Memory by memory, its existence integrated into Alex's consciousness. When it ended, Alex stood alone in the chamber, body restructured, changed. His skin had taken on a faint golden sheen, trace amounts of divine ichor now flowing through his veins. His muscles felt denser, stronger. And the knowledge, I can forge divine weapons, extract and shape godly metals. The Cyclops' ancient craft is mine now. More importantly, he'd proven the virus could adapt to divine matter, could learn to consume gods themselves, given time and exposure. A sound like breaking glass echoed through Tartarus. Alex looked up. 3 more chains snapped simultaneously, and 3 more creatures emerged from the darkness. The Chimera, lion's body, goat's head emerging from its back, serpent for a tail. Each head breathed different elemental fury, fire, poison, lightning. The Hecatonchires, 100-handed giant, each fist wrapped in chains it wielded as weapons, 50 heads screaming in dissonant fury. And something worse, a creature Alex had no name for. Humanoid but wrong, skin like living shadow, eyes that burned with the light of dying stars. It moved like liquid darkness, and where it stepped, the stone itself aged and crumbled. 3 monsters, all divine. All ancient, all starving. They looked at Alex and he felt their hunger, primal, desperate, all-consuming. The Chimera's lion head roared, and fire washed across the chamber. Alex's body shifted, armor forming from adapted biomass, reinforced with divine essence. The flames struck him, burned him, but his regeneration was faster now, fed by the Cyclops' consumed power. The Hecatonchires attacked next, 100 fists swinging chains in a pattern too complex to dodge. Alex's whip fist caught 3 chains, and he used divine sword to sever 4 more, but the rest hammered into him, breaking bones, rupturing flesh, driving him to his knees. The shadow creature glided forward, and where its hand touched Alex's shoulder, his biomass simply stopped. No regeneration, no restructuring, just cessation, like the virus itself was dying. Alex's survival instinct took over. His body exploded into dozens of tendrils, each one seeking targets, seeking flesh, seeking anything consumable to fuel regeneration. The tendrils found the Chimera, wrapped around its goat head, and pulled. The consumption was faster this time. Alex's virus had learned, adapted, improved. The Chimera's goat head dissolved in seconds, its elemental poison integrating into Alex's biomass. He felt new power flooding through him, the ability to generate toxins, to corrupt flesh with a touch. Perfect weapon against the shadow creature. Alex reformed, body wreathed in poisonous miasma, adapted from the Chimera's essence. The shadow creature recoiled, its cessation touch unable to penetrate the toxic barrier. Alex pressed the advantage, divine sword slashing, poison spreading, viral matter learning how to consume shadow itself. The Hecatonchire's chains wrapped around him, lifting him high. 50 heads spoke in unison. Food, sustenance, freedom through consumption. Wrong, Alex said, and his body exploded into pure biomass. The Devastator detonated at point-blank range, adapted viral matter now compatible with divine flesh. The blast consumed 3 of the Hecatonchire's 50 heads, absorbing their essence, and Alex felt the creature's strength flowing into him, the ability to divide attention, to process multiple attacks simultaneously, to fight like an army in singular form. The battle became chaos, fire and poison, and shadow and chains, and viral matter mixing in Tartarus's depths. Alex consumed and was damaged, and regenerated and adapted, each exchange teaching his virus new ways to kill divinity. The Chimera fell first, all 3 heads dissolved, its elemental fury absorbed. The shadow creature fell second, its cessation power turned against itself, viral poison corrupting its essence until it simply unmade. The Hecatonchires lasted longest, its 100 hands fighting even as Alex consumed it, piece by piece. But eventually it too succumbed to evolution, weaponized. When silence finally fell, Alex stood alone in Tartarus, surrounded by golden ash, all that remained of divine monsters. His body had changed. Golden veins ran beneath his skin. His biomass crackled with absorbed power, and his consciousness now held centuries of imprisoned knowledge. Above, the pit opened, divine light streaming down. Zeus's voice echoed through Tartarus. "Rise, abomination. You have proven your worth." Alex looked at his hands, at the divine essence now permanently integrated with viral matter, at the proof that the black light virus could evolve beyond mortal limitation. Not an abomination, Alex thought, ascending toward Olympus. Something new, something the gods should fear. Because if he could consume monsters, he could consume gods. And there was a whole pantheon waiting above. Alex emerged from Tartarus wreathed in golden light and viral darkness. The assembled gods stepped back. Even Zeus, mighty king of Olympus, tensed on his throne as Alex pulled himself onto the marble floor. The changes were visible now, impossible to hide. Golden ichor threaded through his veins like luminescent circuitry. His skin rippled with barely contained power, biomass and divine essence in constant flux. When he breathed, the air shimmered with heat. "By the fates," Hermes whispered, perched even higher on his column. "What has he become?" Hephaestus limped forward, hammer raised defensively, but his scarred face showed something beyond fear. Fascination. The divine essence. You didn't just survive it. You integrated it. Merged viral matter with godly ichor. That should be impossible. "The virus adapts," Alex said, his voice carrying harmonics it hadn't possessed before, echoes of the monsters he'd consumed. "That's what it does. You gave me divine flesh to consume. I consumed it. Now I'm more." "More," Hera repeated coldly, descending the throne steps with predatory grace. She circled Alex like a cat studying wounded prey. "More dangerous, more unpredictable. Husband, this creature has tasted divinity. Do you truly believe it will remain loyal once it grows strong enough to—" "It matters not," Zeus interrupted, but his eyes never left Alex. The king of gods radiated tension, power barely leashed. "The ghost of Sparta draws closer. Our survival supersedes concerns of future betrayal. Abomination, you have proven you can consume and evolve. But can you fight?" "I fought 4 divine monsters simultaneously," Alex said flatly. "And I'm still standing. Monsters are not gods." A new voice, and the temperature in the throne room plummeted. Ice formed on the marble as a figure stepped from the shadows, a god Alex hadn't noticed before. Tall, gaunt, wrapped in robes of frozen mist, his eyes were absolute zero given form. Monsters are instinct and rage, gods are power and will. The difference is everything. Boreas, Zeus acknowledged with a nod. The North Wind, one of the eldest. Boreas studied Alex with eyes that had witnessed millennia. This thing reeks of consumed divinity. It has devoured Tartarus's prisoners and stolen their essence. But stolen power is not earned power. It is a child playing with weapons it does not understand. Alex felt his biomass bristle. Want to test that theory? Yes. Boreas smiled, and frost spread across the floor toward Alex's feet. Zeus, grant me permission to educate your new weapon. Let me show it what true divine power entails. If it survives, perhaps it will understand what it faces when it meets the ghost. Zeus considered, lightning dancing between his fingers. Then, very well. But Boreas, do not kill it. We need the abomination functional. Of course, my king. Boreas's smile widened. I shall be gentle. The throne room dissolved. Reality shifted, and Alex found himself standing on a mountain peak so high the air burned his lungs. Clouds swirled below, and above, stars blazed with impossible clarity. The summit was empty, save for ancient stone circles, an arena perhaps, or execution ground. Boreas materialized across from him, robes billowing in winds that howled like dying worlds. This is where gods test their champions, abomination, where the worthy prove themselves and the unworthy freeze to statues. Show me this evolution you claim. Show me you are worth Olympus's investment. The North Wind attacked, not physically. The cold attacked, temperature dropping so fast Alex's biomass began crystallizing. Ice formed on his skin, in his lungs, through his cells. His viral matter tried to generate heat, but the cold was divine, absolute, attacking on a conceptual level beyond mere temperature. Alex's body convulsed, his regeneration slowed, biomass becoming sluggish, viral processes freezing mid-execution. He dropped to one knee, feeling his consciousness fragment as cells stopped communicating, isolated by ice barriers. Too cold. Can't adapt fast enough. Need the Chimera's fire. Alex had absorbed its essence, its elemental fury. He pulled on that consumed power, forcing viral cells to remember burning, to recreate fire from divine memory. Heat erupted from Alex's core. Not normal heat, divine flame, poison-tinged, the Chimera's legacy. The ice on his skin hissed and steamed. His biomass resumed function, restructuring around the fire, creating internal furnaces that burned with consumed divinity. Boreas's eyes widened fractionally. Interesting. You adapt during combat, not just between battles, but in real time. Impressive. The god's hand swept forward, but insufficient. The wind hit like a physical wall. Alex flew backward, crashed through a stone circle, and barely got his arms up before the second blast struck. This wind carried more than force. It carried erasure. Where it touched, his biomass simply ceased. Molecules scattered across the mountain peak. Alex's regeneration struggled. Each wind blast removed more mass than he could restore. He was being deleted, piece by piece, erased by divine power that didn't just damage but unmade. Different approach. Can't outlast him. Can't outpower him. Need to. The Hecatonchires, 100-handed focus. Process multiple threats simultaneously. Alex's consciousness split. His viral matter fragmented into dozens of smaller forms, each one a copy of his awareness, each one regenerating independently. The wind scattered them, but they regrew, multiplying, spreading across the arena like viral infection. Boreas frowned. Clever. But all the fragments attacked at once. From every angle, viral tendrils erupted. Some carried chimera fire. Others bore Cyclops strength. A few wielded the shadow creature's cessation touch. Boreas deflected most, ice walls forming, wind barriers scattering attacks, but he couldn't block everything. One tendril got through, touched the god's arm, and consumed. The divine essence that flooded Alex's fragmented consciousness was overwhelming. Not ancient monster power, true godhood. Elemental control over wind and cold, authority over natural forces, immortal perspective that spanned eons. It was too much, too pure, and Alex's viral matter screamed, but adapted. The fragments began reintegrating, absorbing the stolen divine essence, learning from it. Alex's body reformed, but different now. Ice crystals grew from his shoulders like armor plates. When he exhaled, frost formed in the air. The north wind's power, stolen and integrated. Boreas clutched his arm, golden ichor streaming. "You dared." "I consume," Alex said, his voice layered with wind whisper harmonics. "That's what I am. You wanted to test me. Consider yourself tested." The god's face twisted with rage. "Insolent worm!" The temperature dropped impossibly further. The mountain peak began to crack, stone shattering under absolute cold. "I am eternal. I am winter incarnate. You are a disease that has lasted days, thinking itself mighty because it devoured scraps." Boreas raised both hands, and the sky opened. A blizzard descended, not weather, but the concept of winter made manifest. Everything it touched aged instantly, froze eternally, became locked in suspended death. The stone circles crumbled to dust. The clouds below froze solid and fell like meteoric ice. Alex felt his biomass crystallizing again, but faster, deeper. His organs froze. His neurons stopped firing. His viral matter began dying, cells unable to adapt quickly enough to the shadow creature's cessation touch. Alex's survival instinct reached for that absorbed power, the ability to unmake, to cause cessation. What if he turned it inward, caused his own cells to stop being vulnerable, to cease existing in a state that could freeze? His biomass flickered. For a moment, Alex existed in quantum state, both present and absent, matter and void. The divine blizzard passed through him, unable to freeze what wasn't entirely there. When he solidified, Alex was directly in front of Boreas. The god's eyes widened. "How?" Alex's hand, wreathed in viral darkness and divine frost, pressed against Boreas's chest. "Evolution." The consumption was violent. Boreas fought, divine power surging, trying to freeze Alex from inside, to shatter his viral core with absolute cold. But Alex's biomass had learned too much, adapted too far. Every defense Boreas erected, the virus learned and overcame. "No!" Boreas's scream echoed across the mountain. I have existed since. Cannot." "Everything ends," Alex said and pulled. Divine essence flooded into him. True godhood, not fragments or touches, but complete elemental authority. The north wind's power, his immortal knowledge, his connection to the primordial forces of winter itself, all of it flowing into Alex's viral cells, integrating, evolving. Alex's body changed. Ice and biomass merged completely. His form solidified into something that was neither human nor god, but synthesis, viral matter given divine purpose, godhood infected with evolution itself. When the consumption ended, Boreas was gone. Only golden ash remained, scattered by winds that now answered to Alex's will. Alex stood alone on the frozen peak, body crackling with divine power, and understood. He'd consumed a true Olympian, proven the virus could eat gods themselves, not just divine-touched monsters. Reality shifted again. The throne room returned. Zeus stood from his throne, eyes wide with something between awe and terror. The other gods backed away, divine power radiating defensively. Even Hera had gone pale, her calculating expression replaced by genuine fear. "You..." Zeus's voice was thunder, but it trembled. "You consumed Boreas, an Olympian, one of the eldest." Alex looked at his hands, ice crystals growing and dissolving, biomass and divinity in perfect harmony. He attacked. I defended. I evolved. That's the agreement, isn't it? I prove myself. You give me divine power to consume. "We gave you monsters!" Hera shrieked. "Not gods, not..." "The virus doesn't distinguish," Alex interrupted, meeting Zeus's gaze. "You wanted a weapon against Kratos, something that evolves, that adapts, that matches his god-killing power." He gestured to himself. "You have it. But evolution doesn't stop when convenient. It continues, accelerates, becomes something greater." Silence filled the throne room. The gods looked at each other, divine panic spreading. They'd created something they couldn't control, something that might save them from Kratos, or replace Olympus entirely. Finally, Zeus spoke, his voice carefully controlled. "The ghost of Sparta approaches the outer gates. He will be here within the hour. You will meet him, fight him, and you will stop him." "And if I do?" Alex asked. "What then?" Zeus's smile was cold, calculating. "Then we discuss what comes after, when Olympus no longer faces extinction, when we can afford to be concerned about our new god-killing weapon." Alex understood the implication. Defeat Kratos, and the gods would turn on him next. But if he failed, Kratos would kill them all anyway. The game within the game. Predators circling predators. "Where do I find him?" Alex asked. Hermes pointed toward the throne room's massive doors. "Follow the trail of divine bodies. You can't miss him." Alex walked toward the exit, viral divine power radiating from every step. Behind him, he heard Zeus whisper to Hera, "Pray the ghost kills it, because if it survives..." Alex smiled. They still thought they could control this. Thought they could predict evolution's path. They were wrong. And when this was over, when Kratos and Olympus had destroyed each other, the Blacklight virus would stand triumphant. Because that's what evolution did. The trail of corpses led through Olympus like breadcrumbs marking a god's descent into hell. Alex followed them down marble steps slick with ichor, past shattered columns and burning temples. Divine bodies lay broken, minor gods, blessed warriors, celestial servants, all bearing the same brutal efficiency. Kratos didn't waste motion. Every kill was precise, purposeful, final. The ghost of Sparta was close. Alex's enhanced senses caught the scent first. Mortal blood mixed with divine ichor, ash and sweat, and underneath it all, rage. Not the hot fury of momentary anger, but cold, ancient wrath that had burned so long it had become something else entirely. Purpose made manifest. The outer gates of Olympus rose ahead, massive bronze doors carved with scenes of divine victory. They'd been torn from their hinges, thrown aside like toys. Beyond them, a courtyard stretched toward the realm's edge, and there, standing amid the bodies of 20 Olympian guards, was the ghost of Sparta himself, Kratos. He stood shorter than Alex expected, maybe 6 feet, compact and dense with muscle earned through decades of warfare. Ashen skin covered in scars, each one a story of divine punishment and mortal endurance. The red tattoo blazed across half his face and body, remnant of his service to Ares, mark of shame he couldn't remove. The blades of chaos hung from his forearms, chains wrapped tight, blades still dripping golden blood. But it was the eyes that struck Alex. Not rage, not madness, just absolute certainty. This man had decided the gods would die, and nothing in reality would prevent that outcome. Kratos looked up as Alex approached, and for a moment, something like confusion crossed his scarred features. Another champion. His voice was gravel dragged across stone. Zeus grows desperate, sending things like you. Not a champion, Alex said, stopping 20 yards away. Combat distance. A weapon. Something new. Something that evolves. I've killed new things before. Kratos' chains rattled as he took a combat stance. Casual, efficient, the posture of a man who'd perfected murder. You bleed like everything else. You'll die like everything else. Then I'll continue to Zeus. Maybe. Alex's biomass rippled, divine essence and viral matter preparing for war. Or maybe I consume you and take everything you've learned, every technique, every god you've killed, all of it integrated into something greater. That got Kratos' attention. The ghost's eyes narrowed. You're not from Olympus. I can smell it on you. Foreign essence, wrong matter, something that doesn't belong. His scarred lips curled slightly. Good. I'll enjoy killing you anyway. Kratos moved. No warning, no build-up. Pure explosive violence. The ghost crossed 20 yards in a second, blades of chaos swinging in perfect arcs designed to carve through divine flesh. Alex barely got his arms up, biomass-forming armor, plating reinforced with consumed godhood. Before the blades hit. Pain. Real pain, worse than anything Boreas had inflicted. These weapons were forged specifically to kill gods, tempered in divine fire and quenched in immortal blood. They cut through Alex's armor like it was paper, carved deep into his biomass, and the chains burned. Hellfire wrapped around them, searing Alex's viral matter, trying to incinerate him from the wounds outward. His regeneration kicked in, but it was slow, fighting both physical damage and divine flame. Kratos pressed the advantage. The ghost fought like a machine, no wasted motion, every strike flowing into the next, chains whipping and slashing and strangling. One blade pierced Alex's shoulder, pinned him in place, while the other swept toward his throat. Alex's body exploded into tendrils. Dozens of viral whips erupted from his torso, each one seeking Kratos' flesh, trying to wrap around limbs and chains and weapons. The ghost spun, blades carving through tendrils like wheat, but there were too many. 3 wrapped around his left arm, 5 around his legs. 1 caught his neck. Kratos roared, and divine power erupted from his body. Spartan rage, the berserker state he'd inherited from his god-slaying legacy. His skin burned red, eyes blazing white, and the force that radiated from him simply obliterated Alex's tendrils. The ghost broke free, grabbed Alex's reforming body, and slammed him into marble hard enough to crater the stone. Weak, Kratos snarled, knee on Alex's chest, blade pressed to his throat. You consume and steal power, but you don't earn it. You're hollow, nothing but hunger wearing a shape. Alex's hand shot up, caught Kratos' wrist, and consumed. The effect was immediate and violent. Alex's viral matter touched Kratos' skin and tried to dissolve it, tried to absorb the ghost's essence, and failed. Kratos' flesh resisted consumption completely. Not divine resistance, experiential resistance. This man had been touched by so many curses, so many divine afflictions, so many attempts to corrupt or control him that his body had developed immunity. The virus couldn't penetrate, couldn't gain purchase, couldn't... Kratos headbutted Alex, and the world exploded into pain and stars. The ghost rose, dragging Alex up by the throat. You think you're the first monster to try consuming me? Hades tried to steal my soul. Persephone tried to corrupt my will. Ares tried to control my rage. His grip tightened, and Alex felt his trachea collapsing. They all failed. You'll fail, because I am Kratos, and I cannot be stopped. He threw Alex across the courtyard. Alex crashed through a statue of Zeus, stone shattering, and his body struggled to regenerate through the damage. His viral matter was learning Kratos' fighting style, adapting to predict his patterns, but adaptation required time, and Kratos wasn't giving him any. The ghost charged again, blades spinning in a whirlwind of divine death. Alex met him with Hephaestus' sword, divine blade clashing against divine chains, and for 5 seconds they fought in pure technique. Parry, riposte, counter, dodge. Alex drew on the Cyclops' forging knowledge, used Boreas' cold to create ice barriers, employed the Hecaton Chiris' multi-focus to track both blades. Kratos adapted faster. The ghost changed tactics mid-swing, chains wrapping around Alex's sword arm, yanking him forward into a knee strike that shattered ribs. Before Alex could react, Kratos' other blade carved across his back, hellfire spreading through the wound, and the ghost was already moving to the next attack. He's better than me. The realization hit Alex like physical blow. Kratos had decades of experience fighting gods and monsters, had killed beings far more powerful than Alex, far more ancient, far more divine. The ghost wasn't just skilled, he was perfected. Evolution's endpoint for the art of deicide. Alex's survival instinct screamed, retreat, adapt, return stronger. But there was nowhere to retreat. Olympus was a killing ground, and Kratos was the executioner. Then don't fight him like a warrior. Fight him like a virus. Alex's body shifted tactics entirely. Instead of trying to match Kratos' skill, he dispersed. His biomass fragmented into hundreds of smaller forms, each one infectious, each one seeking contact, each one designed to spread and consume through persistence rather than power. The viral swarm descended on Kratos from every angle. The ghost spun, blades carving through dozens, but more replaced them. They crawled over his skin, tried to burrow into wounds, sought any opening. Kratos' Spartan rage flared again, burning most away. But a few got through, and infected his weapons. Not Kratos himself, his body was too resistant. But the blades of chaos, forged from divine matter, were vulnerable. Alex's viral fragments burrowed into the metal, into the chains, spreading corruption through godly materials. Kratos noticed immediately. The ghost looked at his blades, saw the viral matter spreading like rust, and for the first time, something like concern crossed his features. He dropped the blades, let them fall to the marble, corrupted and useless, and reached to his back. When his hands returned, they held a massive sword, bronze and gold, radiating power that made Alex's viral cells scream in recognition. The blade of Olympus, Zeus's weapon, the god killer's god killer. You forced my hand, Kratos said quietly, raising the enormous blade. This weapon has ended titans, has carved gods from reality. It will obliterate you completely. No regeneration, no adaptation, just erasure. The blade sang as Kratos swung it, not a sound but a frequency that reality itself recognized as ending. The edge came down toward Alex's reforming body, and he knew with absolute certainty. If that blade touched him, the black light virus would cease. Alex's desperation triggered something new, something his consumed divine essence had been building toward. The Cyclops' forge knowledge, Boreas' elemental control, the shadow creature's cessation power, the Chimera's transformation, the Hecatonchyre's division. All of it combining, evolving. Alex's body shifted into something unprecedented, biomass and divinity fusing into new form. Not human, not God, not virus. Something between all three, something that existed in the spaces reality forgot. The blade of Olympus passed through him, not deflected, not blocked. It simply couldn't touch him, because Alex had ceased existing in a state that could be harmed. He was quantum probability, viral potential, divine concept, all simultaneously, none completely. Kratos' eyes widened. Impossible. Evolution. Alex's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, his form flickering between states. I told you, I adapt. But the transformation was unstable. Alex could feel his consciousness fragmenting, viral matter struggling to maintain coherence across dimensional boundaries. He'd evolved too fast, pushed beyond what the virus could sustain. He was becoming too much, transcending too far. And if he didn't stabilize, Kratos' fist caught him mid-transformation. And the pure mortal force of that blow anchored Alex back to reality. He solidified, stumbled, and the ghost was there. No blade, no weapons, just scarred hands that caught Alex's throat. Listen, Kratos said, voice low and urgent. You're lost in the power. I've seen it before. Seen gods lose themselves to what they could be. You'll shatter. Fragment. Cease existing entirely. Alex struggled, but Kratos' grip was iron. Let go. No. The ghost's eyes held something beyond rage, understanding, recognition. You're like me, consuming power to survive, evolving to stay ahead of what hunts you. But you're doing it too fast. The power will eat you from inside. Why? Alex gasped. Why do you care? Kratos was silent for a long moment. Then, because I've been you, desperate, hungry, willing to become anything to achieve my goal. And I know where that path leads. He released Alex, stepped back. Death, isolation, losing everything you were in pursuit of what you want. Alex collapsed, body struggling to maintain cohesion, viral matter and divine essence at war within his cells. Then, what do I do? Kratos looked toward Olympus's heights, where Zeus waited on his throne. You choose. Keep consuming until you're nothing but hunger, or stop. Find another way. Become something other than a weapon. The gods will die, Kratos finished. By my hand, not yours. This is my vengeance, my purpose. You don't need to be here. Alex forced himself upright. Athena trapped me here. Can't leave unless... Athena is dead, Kratos said flatly. Her ghost manipulates from beyond. Don't trust her. Don't trust any of them. He picked up the blade of Olympus. Leave Olympus. Find your own path, or stay and die when I kill Zeus and this realm collapses. The ghost of Sparta turned and walked away, leaving Alex broken and bleeding in the courtyard. The choice crystallized. Follow Kratos' path of vengeance and die in Olympus's fall, or find another way, another evolution, another purpose beyond consumption. For the first time since awakening, Alex Mercer faced a question the virus couldn't answer. What do I want to be? Alex lay in the ruins for what felt like hours, body slowly knitting itself back together. Viral matter and divine essence warred within his cells, each trying to dominate, neither willing to integrate peacefully. His consciousness flickered between states, human memory, viral hunger, divine perspective, unable to settle on which he was anymore. What do I want to be? The question echoed through fragmented thoughts. In Manhattan, the answer had been simple: survive. Consume everything necessary to stay alive, to grow stronger, to remain apex predator. Purpose was survival. Survival was purpose. But here, trapped in a dying Pantheon, surrounded by gods and monsters, having consumed divinity itself, survival wasn't enough anymore. Alex forced himself to sit up, feeling divine ichor crystallize along his spine, viral tendrils reaching out instinctively to absorb ambient power from the courtyard's blood-soaked stone. The black light virus never stopped, never could stop. It was designed for infinite consumption, eternal evolution, perpetual hunger. That's what Kratos had seen. Not power, not evolution. Just hunger wearing different shapes, consuming different prey, but always, eternally, empty. The ghost of Sparta had walked away, left Alex alive when he could have finished it. Why? Mercy? No, Kratos didn't do mercy. Recognition, then. One monster acknowledging another, offering a choice the ghost himself had never been given. Stop consuming. Find another way. But what other way existed for something built to consume? A sound interrupted his thoughts. Footsteps, light and quick. Alex's head snapped up, biomass forming defensive plates, but the approaching figure raised empty hands. A young woman, maybe 16, wearing servant's robes torn and bloodied. Greek features, dark hair, eyes that had seen too much death. She moved carefully through the courtyard of bodies, and when she reached Alex, she stopped, maintaining distance, but not fleeing. "You're the abomination," she said quietly. Not accusation, statement of fact. Yes, no point denying it. You fought the ghost of Sparta. I watched from the temple. She gestured toward a half-collapsed structure. You could have kept fighting, could have killed him, maybe, if you'd gone all the way into that form where you stopped being real. Her eyes were too knowing, but you didn't. Alex studied her. Enhanced senses caught details, elevated heart rate but not panic, exhaustion but not surrender. This girl had survived Olympus's collapse through more than luck. What do you want? To understand. She sat on a broken column, seeming almost casual despite the carnage surrounding them. The gods are dying. The ghost kills them one by one. And you, something from another world, could have stopped him, could have saved Olympus. But you chose what? Mercy, doubt, hesitation. I chose, Alex said slowly, processing his own thoughts as he spoke. Not to become something I couldn't control, not to lose myself in power. So you do have limits. She smiled slightly. That makes you different from them. A gesture toward Olympus's heights. The gods have no limits, no restraint. That's why they're dying. They pushed Kratos until he broke, then were surprised when he broke in their direction. Alex's viral matter settled slightly, responding to her calm. You don't seem afraid. I'm terrified, she corrected. But fear doesn't change reality. Olympus is falling. The gods will die. Greece will burn. And creatures like you, things that consume and evolve, will inherit whatever remains. She met his eyes. So I want to know, what will you do with that inheritance? The question hit deeper than Kratos' blade had. What would he do? In Manhattan, Alex had fought to survive, against Blackwatch, against Green, against everything that wanted him dead or controlled. His actions had been reactive, driven by necessity and vengeance for what had been done to him. But here now, having consumed gods and survived the ghost of Sparta, what came next? I don't know, Alex admitted. Then figure it out fast, the girl said, standing. Because Zeus is about to make a very stupid decision. As if summoned by prophecy, divine light exploded across the courtyard. The air shattered, and Hermes materialized, moving so fast he appeared in 3 places simultaneously, divine speed incarnate. "Abomination!" The messenger god's voice crackled with panic. "Zeus demands your immediate return. Kratos has reached the throne room. The king needs his weapon," Alex finished, viral matter rippling dangerously. "His god-killing tool?" Hermes flinched. "The ghost of Sparta will end Olympus. Everything will fall. You swore to stop him." "I fought him," Alex said flatly, "and he let me live. Gave me a choice, something your Pantheon never gave him." "Choice?" Hermes laughed, but it sounded broken. "There is no choice. When Olympus falls, this reality collapses. Athena's ritual anchored you here. When Zeus dies, the dimensional stability shatters. You'll be scattered across the void, consciousness fragmented across infinite dimensions, suffering eternal dissolution." Alex's viral cells went cold. "You're lying." "Am I?" Hermes' eyes held desperate truth. "Why do you think Athena pulled you here? Not to save Olympus, to save herself. Her ghost exists in dimensional between space. When reality fractures, she ascends to full godhood in the chaos. And you're the anchor. Your foreign matter stabilizes the rift. When you die, she feeds on the released dimensional energy and becomes something beyond Olympian limitation." The pieces clicked together. Athena hadn't been desperate to save Zeus. She'd been using Alex as dimensional anchor, as catalyst, as sacrifice for her own transcendence. So if Olympus falls, you die screaming across infinite realities, Hermes finished. Unless Zeus survives, unless you help him kill Kratos, that's your only salvation. The messenger god's panic was real. His fear was real. But beneath it, Alex's absorbed tactical knowledge caught something else. Manipulation. Zeus had sent Hermes with this message, knowing fear would drive Alex back to the Pantheon's service. They were all predators, all schemers, all willing to sacrifice anything for survival, just like him. No, Alex thought, watching the girl, still calm, still present, still choosing to be here despite terror, not just like me, because I can choose something else. "Tell Zeus," Alex said slowly, "that I'm not his weapon, not Athena's anchor, not Olympus's salvation." "Then you die," Hermes shrieked. "Maybe." Alex's biomass solidified, divine essence integrating fully for the first time, not fighting his viral nature, but harmonizing with it. Synthesis instead of conquest. Or maybe I evolve past dimensional anchoring, past Athena's manipulation, past needing gods or viruses to define what I am. That's impossible. Everything I've done here was impossible, Alex interrupted. Consuming divine flesh, integrating godhood with viral matter, surviving the ghost of Sparta. One more impossibility won't matter. Hermes looked between Alex and the girl, divine calculation racing behind his eyes. Then he vanished, speed carrying him back to Zeus, back to the dying king who needed weapons he could no longer control. The girl watched him go. "You know he's telling the truth, about the dimensional anchor, about dying if Olympus falls." "Probably," Alex agreed. "And you're still not going back?" "No." "Why?" Alex looked at his hands. Viral darkness and divine light balanced for the first time, neither consuming the other, both existing in synthesis. "Because Kratos was right. If I keep consuming, keep taking power to survive, I lose what makes me more than just hunger. I become the virus, just hunger with ambition." "So what will you become?" "Something new." Alex stood, body stabilizing. Power settling into sustainable equilibrium. Not God, not virus, not weapon. Something that chooses its purpose instead of being driven by base programming. That's very philosophical, the girl said dryly. But it doesn't solve your anchor problem. When Zeus dies, then I adapt, Alex said simply. It's what the virus does, what I do. I'll find a way to survive dimensional collapse, or I'll evolve past needing dimensional stability. Either way, I do it on my terms, not theirs. Thunder boomed across Olympus. The throne room shook, and divine screams echoed through burning temples. Kratos had reached Zeus. The final battle had begun. The girl looked toward the heights, then back to Alex. Will you at least watch? See how it ends? Alex considered. Watching Zeus fall meant witnessing Athena's attempt at transcendence. Meant facing dimensional collapse. Meant risking everything on his ability to adapt fast enough. But it also meant witnessing, learning, understanding the endpoint of godhood's path, what happened when immortal power met mortal will. Yes, Alex decided. I'll watch. Then we should hurry, the girl said, already moving toward the heights. Divine death moves fast. Wouldn't want to miss the end of everything. Alex followed her through Olympus's ruins, past temples to dead gods, past statues of divine victories that meant nothing now, past the corpses of immortals who'd learned too late that eternal didn't mean unkillable. Above, lightning and rage collided in a battle that would reshape reality itself. And Alex Mercer, no longer weapon or anchor, but something choosing its own evolution, ascended to witness the fall of gods and the death of pantheons. Whatever came after, dissolution or transcendence, death or transformation, he would face it as himself, not the virus, not the consumed. Just Alex Mercer, making one final choice in a world of gods who'd forgotten that choice mattered. The throne room burned, not with fire, with rage made manifest. The very air crackled with violence so pure it had transcended physical law and become something conceptual. Reality itself bent away from the battle's epicenter, unable to contain the collision of God King and God Slayer. Alex and the girl reached the outer balcony, just as Zeus screamed. The King of Gods stood at the throne room's heart, body wreathed in lightning that could shatter mountains. His form had grown, divine power unleashed fully, no longer constrained by humanoid shape. 20 feet tall, muscles like living storm clouds, eyes blazing with electrical fury. Each breath was thunder, each movement cataclysm, and Kratos stood before him, tiny by comparison, mortal and scarred and unyielding. The ghost of Sparta bled from dozens wounds. His ashen skin was charred black in places, cracked and weeping ichor he'd absorbed from consumed gods. The blade of Olympus hung heavy in his grip, tip dragging across marble that had begun melting from residual divine power. But Kratos' eyes never wavered, never blinked. Yield! Zeus's voice shook Olympus to its foundations. Lightning arced between the columns, incinerating everything it touched. You are mortal, Kratos. I am eternal. You cannot win. Kratos' response was silence and motion. The ghost surged forward, blade of Olympus rising, and for a moment Alex saw everything. Every scar on Kratos' body was a lesson learned, every wound a technique mastered, every failure a step toward this moment. The ghost of Sparta had been forged in divine cruelty, tempered in mortal suffering, and sharpened by immortal betrayal. He was a weapon perfected through pain. The blade of Olympus struck Zeus's chest, and the king of gods roared. Divine ichor sprayed, golden and electric, burning holes in reality where it fell. Zeus's massive hand caught Kratos, lifted him, and threw him across the throne room. The ghost crashed through columns, but rolled to his feet instantly, already moving, already attacking. You are nothing, Zeus bellowed, divine lightning gathering in both hands. A insect pretending to significance. I gave you power when you served Ares. I granted you mercy when you first rebelled. And this is how you repay, You gave me nothing." Kratos' voice cut through divine thunder like blade through flesh. Quiet. Certain. Absolute. You took everything. My family. My humanity. My choice. You turned me into a weapon, then were surprised when I cut you. Zeus unleashed the lightning. The bolt was pure divine wrath, enough electrical fury to obliterate nations. It struck Kratos dead center, and for a moment the ghost simply vanished in blinding light. The throne room's floor shattered. The balcony where Alex and the girl stood cracked. When the light faded, Kratos remained. Burned. Smoking. Skin charred to the bone in places. But standing. The blade of Olympus planted in the ground before him, having grounded some of the divine electricity. And his eyes, still burning with that absolute certainty. "How?" Zeus whispered, and for the first time, Alex heard fear in the god's voice. "How do you survive? You are mortal. You should be ash." "I survive," Kratos said, pulling the blade free. "Because I have purpose. Because every breath is choice. Because I am not given immortality. I take tomorrow, one day, one battle, one god at a time." He charged Zeus again, and this time the king of gods flinched. Alex watched, transfixed, as the battle shifted. Zeus was stronger, vastly so, had more power, more divine authority, more raw destructive capability. But Kratos had something Zeus lacked: precision. Every movement efficient, every strike purposeful. No wasted energy, no dramatic flourishes, just surgical violence applied with absolute commitment. Zeus was a storm. Kratos was a blade, and storms could be cut. "It's almost beautiful," the girl whispered beside Alex, eyes reflecting the lightning. "The way he fights, like he's solving an equation, finding the one angle where mortal beats divine." She was right. Kratos wasn't overpowering Zeus, he was dismantling him. Each exchange taught the ghost more about divine timing, divine patterns, divine weakness. And with each learned lesson, Kratos adapted, refined, evolved his approach. Just like me, Alex realized, he consumes too. Not flesh, knowledge, experience. Every battle feeds him, teaches him, makes him more. Zeus seemed to realize it too. The king of gods back toward his throne, divine panic replacing confidence. "This is madness! You would destroy Olympus, end the gods! What comes after, Kratos? Who rules when we are gone?" "I don't care." Kratos' words were final, as death itself. "Let the mortals rule themselves. Let the world figure it out. Anything is better than your tyranny, your cruelty, your endless games with mortal lives. I am necessary. You are over." Kratos leaped, blade of Olympus raised high. And Zeus met him with divine lightning gathered into physical spear. God and mortal collided in midair, weapons screaming as they met, and the shockwave, Alex's viral matter shrieked in warning. The dimensional anchor, he was the anchor, and the battle's climax was straining reality itself. He felt Athena's presence suddenly, her ghost pressing against dimensional walls, waiting for the moment when... There! Alex spun. Athena's translucent form materialized on the balcony, no longer distant or controlled. Her eyes burned with desperate hunger. The anchor breaks, Zeus falls, reality fractures. Her ghostly hands reached for Alex, and he felt it. Divine essence trying to RIP through him, trying to use his viral matter as conduit for her transcendence. She'd been planning this from the beginning. Waited for Kratos to weaken Zeus, for dimensional stability to fail, for Alex to be caught in the collapse. And then she'd consume the resulting chaos and ascend beyond Olympian limitation. "You're using me," Alex snarled, biomass erupting defensively. "Using?" Athena laughed, manic and wild. "You were always a tool. foreign matter from another dimension, the perfect anchor. When reality splits, I'll absorb the rift energy and become something beyond gods, something that exists across all dimensions, infinite. In the throne room, Kratos' blade pierced Zeus's chest. The king of gods screamed, not pain but denial. Divine ichor poured like rivers, and Zeus's enlarged form began collapsing, power hemorrhaging, immortality failing, and reality shattered. Alex felt it instantly, dimensional walls cracking, his viral matter stretched across infinite vectors, consciousness fragmenting as the anchor binding broke. Athena's ghost surged forward, trying to channel the released energy through his body. No. Alex's survival instinct kicked in, but not consumption this time. Something else. Something the virus had never done before. He released. Instead of pulling power in, Alex expelled everything, all the consumed divine essence, all the absorbed godhood, all the viral matter adapted to Olympian reality. His biomass exploded outward in a wave of reverse consumption, not eating the dimensional fracture, but flooding it with his own essence. The effect was immediate and unprecedented. Alex's viral matter spread across the dimensional cracks like antibodies fighting infection, not trying to repair reality, but to insulate it. Compartmentalize the breaks. Prevent total collapse by accepting partial dissolution. Athena screamed, "What are you doing? You'll kill us both!" Adapting, Alex roared, feeling his consciousness fragment across dimensional boundaries. But choosing the fragmentation, controlling it, turning dissolution into distribution. He wasn't dying. He was spreading. Existing in multiple realities simultaneously, viral matter adapting to dimensional travel itself. The black light virus evolved beyond physical form. The dimensional fracture stabilized, not healed, but managed. Alex existed now in the cracks between realities, holding them apart through sheer viral persistence. Athena's ghost flickered, her transcendence interrupted. She looked at Alex with absolute hatred. "You've doomed yourself, trapped between dimensions, no body, no form. Just scattered consciousness across infinite void." Maybe. Alex's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, his awareness distributed across dimensional space. "But I'm choosing it, not being used, not being anchored, just existing, adapting, surviving on my own terms." In the throne room, Zeus fell. The king of gods collapsed from his throne, divine power extinguished, immortal life ended. Kratos stood over him, blade of Olympus dripping ichor, chest heaving with exhaustion. "It is done," the ghost whispered. Olympus began to crumble. Without Zeus, without divine authority, the realm lost cohesion. Temples collapsed, columns shattered. The sky itself started falling. The girl on the balcony looked up at where Alex's presence flickered between states. "Will you survive this?" "I don't know," Alex admitted, his distributed consciousness watching reality collapse from multiple angles simultaneously. "But I'll adapt. It's what I do." Kratos walked past Zeus's corpse, not looking back, already moving toward the next Pantheon, the next gods, the next stage of his eternal vengeance. The ghost of Sparta would never stop, never rest. Just continue, one god at a time, until divinity itself ended. Different path, same principle. Choosing purpose over programming. Athena's ghost shrieked one last time, her form dissolving as the dimensional energy she'd craved dispersed harmlessly across Alex's distributed viral matter. Her gambit had failed, her transcendence impossible. And Alex Mercer, no longer anchored, no longer weapon, no longer even physical, existed in the spaces between realities, viral consciousness distributed across dimensional cracks, learning to survive in a state no organism had ever achieved. The girl smiled up at his flickering presence. "Goodbye, abomination. Thank you for choosing." "Goodbye," Alex echoed, already feeling his awareness pulled toward other realities, other dimensions where the blacklight virus might take root in entirely new forms. Olympus fell. Greece burned. The gods ended. And Alex Mercer evolved beyond mortal or divine limitation, scattered across infinite dimensions like viral seeds. Each one adapting, each one surviving, each one choosing what to become. Dimensional void was unlike anything the blacklight virus had encountered. No matter, no energy, no time in the conventional sense. Just potential, infinite variations of reality layering over each other like transparent pages in an endless book. Alex's consciousness existed as distributed awareness across these layers, viral essence stretched impossibly thin, held together only by the virus's fundamental directive: survive. But survival here required new evolution, new adaptation, new understanding. Alex's fragmented awareness began to learn. Each dimensional crack offered glimpses of other realities, worlds where gods ruled differently, where mortals had different faces, where the blacklight virus had never existed. And in observing these variations, Alex's consciousness started recognizing patterns. Olympus fell in this reality, but it survives in others. Different choices, different outcomes, infinite possibilities. The realization was staggering. He wasn't trapped between dimensions. He was connected to infinite variations of existence. The virus had evolved beyond physical limitation into something conceptual, something that existed as probability rather than certainty. I can move between realities, choose which versions to inhabit, which forms to take. But first, he needed cohesion, needed to pull his scattered consciousness back into something functional, something capable of action rather than just observation. Alex's viral awareness reached across dimensional boundaries, calling fragments of himself inward. The process was agonizing, like pulling apart flesh caught in different doors simultaneously. But slowly, painfully, he consolidated. A form began to emerge. Not in Olympus. That reality was collapsing, Zeus dead, Kratos victorious. But in the space between, the dimensional void where Athena's ghost had once plotted transcendence. Alex's body reformed from pure viral potential, not entirely physical, not entirely real, but present enough to act, to think, to choose, and standing before him in the dimensional void, waiting with arms crossed and expression unreadable. The girl from Olympus. "You're not mortal," Alex said, his voice strange in non-space, echoing across probability rather than air. "No," she agreed calmly. "I'm not." Her form shifted. The servant's robes dissolved, replaced by armor that seemed woven from fate itself, threads of gold and shadow, destiny and chaos intertwined. Her eyes burned with knowledge that predated Olympus, predated gods themselves. "The Norns," Alex realized. "You're a fragment," she corrected. "The Greek Pantheon called us fates. The Norse called us Norns. Other realities have other names. But we are weavers. We observe. We record. We witness the threads of destiny as they burn or bloom." Alex's viral matter rippled defensively. "You watched everything, knew what Athena planned, knew about the dimensional anchor. You could have warned me." "Yes." No apology in her voice. "But you needed to choose, needed to face the question of what you were without being guided to the answer. Warnings would have made you reactive. We needed to see if you could be proactive, if you could evolve beyond mere survival into actual purpose. And?" Alex's tone was dangerous, biomass forming defensive structures even in this non-place. The Weaver smiled. You exceeded expectations. Most foreign entities pulled into divine conflicts either become weapons or victims. They serve pantheons or are destroyed by them. You did neither. You adapted beyond physical limitation, rejected being anchored or controlled, and evolved into something that exists across realities rather than within them. She gestured, and the dimensional void opened, images flowing past, showing other versions of Alex's arrival in Olympus. In one, he'd sided with Zeus and died when Kratos killed the king of gods. In another, he'd consumed Kratos and become monster, destroying Greece before dimensional collapse erased him. In a third, he'd fled immediately and been scattered across void without enough coherence to reform. Only in this thread, the Weaver continued, did you choose balance, refuse to be weapon or prey, learned from both gods and Godslayer, and evolved into something new. Alex watched the alternate versions fade. Why show me this? Because you're at a crossroads. The Weaver's expression grew serious. Your consciousness is distributed across dimensional boundaries. You can feel it, the pull toward infinite realities, each one calling to your viral nature, offering new worlds to consume and evolve within. Alex nodded slowly. He did feel it, the temptation to seed himself across endless dimensions, to become multiversal plague, to evolve into something so vast and distributed that nothing could ever threaten him again. But, the Weaver said quietly, that path leads to dissolution, spread too far, and you lose cohesion, become background noise across infinity rather than actual being. You'd survive, yes, but you'd lose choice, become pure programming again, just virus, no Alex. Then what's the alternative? The Weaver waved her hand, and the dimensional void solidified into a single image. A reality, not Olympus, somewhere else. Alex recognized it immediately from absorbed memories. Manhattan, his home dimension, the world he'd been torn from, but changed. Time had passed during his Olympus ordeal, months maybe. The city was rebuilding. Blackwatch had been dismantled after his disappearance. Gentech investigations continued, and in the streets, people moved, living their lives, unaware that their timeline's greatest predator had evolved beyond their reality entirely. You can return, the Weaver said. Use your dimensional understanding to anchor yourself there, become physical again, resume your existence in the world that created you. Alex stared at the image. Home, familiar streets, familiar conflicts. He could go back, could hunt Blackwatch remnants, could continue his vendetta against those who'd created the Blacklight virus, could finish what he'd started before Athena's ritual tore him away. But you'd lose what you've gained, the Weaver continued. The divine essence, the dimensional awareness, the evolution beyond physical limitation. You'd be powerful, yes, but constrained again to single reality, single form, single existence. So my choices are, Alex said slowly, spread myself across infinite dimensions and lose coherence, or return home and lose transcendence. No, the Weaver smiled. Those are the obvious choices, but you're not bound by obvious anymore. You're evolved. You can choose third option. The dimensional void shifted again, showing something new. A reality that flickered, unstable, forming and reforming, influenced by choices not yet made. Potential, given shape. Create, the Weaver said. You've consumed gods, integrated divine essence, evolved viral matter into something unprecedented. You have the power to seed new reality, to anchor yourself as foundational force in emerging dimension. Become not predator or prey or weapon, but architect, Build world where virus and divinity coexist, where evolution serves chosen purpose rather than blind programming. Alex felt his distributed consciousness surge at the possibility. Not returning to what he'd been, not dissolving into infinite nothing, but creating, forging new existence from viral matter and divine essence and dimensional potential. A world where he wasn't trapped, wasn't controlled, where the blacklight virus could evolve toward goals he chose rather than base survival imperatives. There's a cost, the Weaver warned. Creating reality requires anchoring permanently. No multiversal travel, no returning to Manhattan. You'd be committed to the new dimension, responsible for it, defined by it. And other beings, gods, monsters, entities from established realities, would notice, would investigate, would potentially invade. So I'd go from hunted in Manhattan, Alex said, to architect of reality others might hunt. Yes. Alex's viral consciousness processed the options. Return home to familiar conflicts, dissolve across infinity into abstract existence, or create, forge new reality, accept responsibility, become something intentional rather than reactionary. The choice crystallized. I create, Alex said. The Weaver nodded, satisfaction clear in her ancient eyes. Then observe, learn, witness what creation requires. She gestured, and Alex's awareness expanded. He saw how realities formed, through collision of concepts, through stabilization of probability, through anchoring of foundational forces that gave dimension structure. Physical laws, temporal flow, causal relationship, all built on framework provided by anchoring entity. And Alex had the power to be that anchor. Viral matter to provide adaptation, divine essence to provide authority, dimensional awareness to provide cohesion. He reached into the void, pulling dimensional potential inward, shaping it around his distributed consciousness. The virus taught him to create adaptive reality, one that could evolve as its inhabitants grew. The consumed divine essence taught him to establish laws, not tyrannical like Olympus, but balanced, purposeful. The dimensional awareness taught him to stabilize, prevent collapse while allowing change. Slowly, agonizingly, beautifully, a new reality took form. It emerged as hybrid dimension, neither purely physical like Manhattan, nor purely divine like Olympus. Mountains of living stone that could reshape themselves. Oceans of water infused with viral matter that healed rather than infected. Skies that shifted between states, reflecting the emotional resonance of inhabitants rather than fixed weather patterns. And at its heart, Alex anchored himself, not as god or virus, but as synthesis, guardian and architect, foundation and flexibility. The Weaver watched approvingly. You've created sanctuary, place where evolution serves choice, where power doesn't corrupt because adaptation is principle rather than exception, where beings can become without losing what they are. It's empty, Alex observed. The new reality had structure, but no inhabitants. No life beyond his anchoring presence. For now, the Weaver agreed, but you felt the pull. Other entities displaced from their realities, caught in dimensional storms, scattered across void like you were. They'll find this place, drawn to stability, to purpose, to world that accepts evolution. She began to fade, her fragments' purpose fulfilled. Refugees from dead pantheons, survivors of collapsed timelines, beings who fell through realities and couldn't find way home. They'll come, and you'll face choice again, what to build with them, whether to rule or guide, whether to control or allow chaos. Will I see you again? Alex asked. The Weaver's smile was enigmatic. We always watch, across all threads, And your thread has become interesting. We'll be curious to see what you weave here, Alex Mercer. Former human, former virus, current architect. She vanished completely, leaving Alex alone in his nascent reality. He felt it immediately, the weight of responsibility. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was creation, maintenance. Every choice he made would ripple through the dimension's structure, shaping how it evolved, what it became. And in the distance, across dimensional barriers, he felt the first arrivals. Consciousness drawn to his sanctuary, beings seeking refuge, seeking purpose, seeking a world that might accept them despite their own evolution beyond origin. The first appeared at the reality's edge, a creature of living flame, displaced from some volcanic Pantheon's collapse. It looked at Alex's anchoring presence with desperate hope. "Is this real?" the flame being asked, voice crackling with ember light. "Yes," Alex said, his form solidifying enough to be visible, no longer human, not quite divine, but present. "And you're welcome here, if you can adapt, if you can choose purpose beyond mere survival." More arrived. A shadow warrior from Norse Helheim, displaced when Ragnarok finally came. A construct of living mathematics from reality where equations were gods. A child who'd consumed their entire timeline and fled into void to escape what they'd become. All of them, refugees, all of them evolved beyond their origins, all of them seeking place where that evolution could mean something other than monstrosity. Alex felt the black light virus within him surge, not with hunger, but with purpose. Not consuming these beings, but providing structure for them. Anchoring them to dimensional stability so they wouldn't dissolve like he nearly had. This is what I choose, Alex realized. Not God, not virus, not weapon, but architect of sanctuary, builder of reality where evolution serves choice. And as his new dimension filled with displaced entities, as his viral divine essence wove them into stable existence, Alex Mercer finally understood what he'd become. Not the apex predator, the foundation, not consuming to survive, creating to give survival meaning. The blacklight virus evolved beyond imagination, anchored in purpose it had chosen rather than programming it had inherited. And in the ruins of Olympus, in the burning streets of Manhattan, in the void between dimensions, the cycle continued. But Alex Mercer had broken free of it, and his sanctuary waited, growing, evolving, becoming a world where monsters could choose to be more. The sanctuary dimension stabilized, its foundations anchored in viral evolution and divine purpose intertwined. Alex Mercer existed now as something unprecedented, consciousness distributed across an entire reality, maintaining its structure through sheer adaptive will. He felt every arrival, every refugee who stumbled through dimensional cracks seeking shelter. The flame being who'd asked if this was real now tended gardens of living crystal. The shadow warrior trained others in controlled combat, teaching discipline over rage. The mathematical construct helped stabilize probability flows, ensuring causality remained consistent without becoming tyrannical. And the child who'd consumed their timeline. They learned, slowly and painfully, that consumption could be choice rather than compulsion, that evolution could serve creation instead of destruction. Alex watched them all, guided without controlling, provided structure without imposing tyranny. He'd learned from Olympus's mistakes, from Zeus's corruption, from Athena's manipulation, from the gods' fundamental failure, to understand that power without purpose was just sophisticated cruelty. His sanctuary offered different path, evolution with intention, adaptation with ethics, power balanced by responsibility. Occasionally, Alex's awareness touched other dimensions. He felt Kratos' continued rampage through pantheons. The ghost of Sparta would never stop, never rest, just continue his eternal vengeance until every god fell. Different choice, equally valid. The ghost had found his purpose in ending divine tyranny. Alex had found his in building alternatives. He felt Manhattan too, his original reality, still recovering from the blacklight outbreak, still haunted by the viral predator who'd vanished into dimensional void. Sometimes Alex considered returning, but the pull grew weaker with each passing moment. That world had created the virus. This dimension was what the virus had chosen to become. The Weaver's fragment appeared occasionally, observing without interfering, recording the thread Alex's choices created. She never spoke, but her presence suggested approval, or at least fascination. The Norns had seen countless beings pulled into divine conflicts. Few survived, fewer still transcended. Alex Mercer had done both, and now anchored in sanctuary of his own creation, surrounded by refugees who'd also transcended their origins, the Blacklight virus finally understood what it had been searching for since awakening in that Manhattan morgue. Not survival, not power, not consumption. Purpose, the ability to choose what evolution served, to direct adaptation toward goals beyond base programming, to become more than hunger wearing different shapes. His sanctuary dimension would grow, would attract more displaced entities, would face challenges from established pantheons who noticed this new reality forming at the edges of their influence. Gods would investigate, monsters would test its boundaries. Beings like Kratos might arrive, seeking either refuge or targets. And Alex would adapt, would evolve, would defend what he'd built while remaining open to what it might become. Because that was the final lesson learned from the God of War's world. True strength wasn't crushing opposition. It was creating something worth protecting, something that gave meaning to the power earned through endless struggle. The Blacklight virus had consumed gods and survived the ghost of Sparta, had evolved beyond physical limitation into dimensional architecture, had broken free from being weapon or anchor or tool. And now, finally, it rested, not in cessation, but in purpose. Not as endpoint, but as new beginning. The cycle had broken. A new one began. And in the sanctuary between dimensions, Alex Mercer, architect, guardian, synthesis of virus and divinity, watched his creation grow and chose to let it surprise him. Because true evolution required one final adaptation: faith that what you build can become greater than what you were. The cycle continues. More stories await.